everybody. It's Scott Hamilton from Rockfile Radio, and I'm on the Zoom with Ian from Amongst Liars. What's happening, Ian?
Hey, yeah, all good here. Thanks.
Yeah.
Just
How's everything
hanging
going
around.
across the pond?
It's going all right. Yeah, it's still crazy times, but
Right.
it's what it is everywhere in the world, isn't it? So it's
Yes, for sure. But yeah, I got your songs. Really a big fan now, so we're going to
amazing.
be
Thanks.
supporting you. Yeah. It's good stuff. So tell me, how did the band get started?
So, Amongst Lies is sort of an amalgam of two bands. We were that kind of knew each other. We're both on the south coast of England, and I was in a band called Catalina Kicks, and we were going for maybe sort of 7 or 8 years, doing quite a lot of stuff. It was all going really well,
Hmm.
and then that sort of fell apart. The drummer just lost the plot, as some drummers do, and just went off and just did his own thing, and that sort of fell apart from me. And at a similar kind of time, maybe a couple of months before that, these guys, the other three guys, were in a band called Saint Apache, and they were doing loads of stuff as well. It was all going really well, and then their singer just went, "I can't do this anymore. Don't want to do it. I've got other things in life,"
Right.
as comes up, and so it basically sort of we toured with Saint Apache a while back, and I sort of saw them on their Facebook, and they were looking for a singer, and I phoned them up and just said, "Do you fancy getting together for a jam?" And it just worked really well, and so they sent some of their songs, I sent some of my songs, we put everything in a pot together, and it just worked. It's amazing. It's really good. So we've only been going, I suppose, just literally about exactly a year. But we wanted to really sort of continue the momentum that we had with the other bands, because both of them were doing quite a lot of stuff, and it was all going really well. So to go from sort of that to dropping all the way down again was a bit of a sort of bit of killer. So we've written loads of songs, and so put out 3 singles at the moment. So one in February, one in May, and one just a couple of weeks ago. So it's all going really well, actually. So can't play any gigs, but apart from that, it's great.
I got to say, I was a musician growing up. I tried to play guitar, and I wasn't taught very well. But then I picked up trumpet, and I was a
Cool.
good trumpet player and all that stuff. So I just love music. And when I got into radio, it was like, hey, I know music, so this is, But I know what it's like to get together with other guys who are like, on the same vibe, playing in a
Yeah.
room, that kind of stuff. It just works. So congratulations on
Thank you.
finding the right mix of band to make this happen.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, it's rare as well, because obviously everyone wants sort of different things, and in this band, it's suddenly that everyone wants the same thing. And there's always been, you work with other people, and there's always someone that says, "Oh no, I can't do this, or I don't want to do this, or this isn't quite for me," or something like that. And that's the
Right.
experience you get. But with this, it's just everyone is on the same page. Everyone's really focused. We all love the same kind of music. We've got different influences, but
Sure.
we all love, enjoy writing, and we're quite critical, so that makes it work quite a lot, I think. So it brings it sort of, we're a good, really tight knit group now, which is amazing.
So what are some of your influences?
Um, I just like good music. I mean, I kind of grew up with when I was a young kid with the grunge era. So I mean, "Smells Like Teen Spirit" was the first song that I mean, I heard it after obviously it came out, but I was like, wow, this is just something else. And I got
It was
into
a game
sort of
changer,
sound.
yeah.
Oh, it was. I mean, it was just something that, that whole video, and the whole, just that whole thing. It was just, yeah, it changed my life, literally. And then, I mean, I was into Soundgarden and Chris Cornell and all the stuff that he did, and obviously later on Linkin Park. But then, I mean, going back, my dad used to listen to Bowie and the Stones and the Beatles, and so you kind of get everything that comes around. I mean, I love funk and soul and Stevie Wonder and people like that. I just really like interesting music, I guess. So it's
Yeah.
it's just, we form our own sound based on sort of different kind of mainly rock influences, but there's a bit of soul in there, there's a bit of blues in there, there's a bit of kind of the heavier stuff. I mean, I kind of like the sort of the heavier side of things, on the Metallica, Slayer, all of those kind of anything that's just got really good energy to it, like
Right.
Slipknot, that kind of thing. Anything it just that conveys that this is like an immense kind of sound or an energy to it, which is really important for us, I suppose.
Yeah, and same for me. I like all kinds of music as well. I'm a huge Prince and Stevie Wonder fan and all
Mm.
that, but rock always gets my blood pumping, and
Yeah,
it's why I've
likewise.
kind of stayed in the rock file,
Yeah.
mode. So I left FM radio 8 years ago because the consultants and vice presidents were telling me, stop playing so much new music, let's go a little nostalgia. And I'm like, I understand it's nostalgia sells, but if rock stations stop playing new bands now, what are we going to be 20, 25 years from now? You know, who's going to be the next classics, the next
Exactly.
Soundgarden, the next, you know, and so I had this idea, you know, let me do stations that support new music. And I know that's a niche at the time. Internet radio was still coming up, and you know, people couldn't play it in their car at the time. And of course now we have Spotify and all the streaming stuff. In 8 years we're still here, but and that's what the stations have evolved into. I've got two. One's hard rock, one's prog rock, and we're just, most of the playlist is new stuff to introduce people, because that's how I learned about music. When I was
That's
growing
amazing.
up in the 80s, listening to radio stations in Atlanta, Georgia, late at night they would play Queensryche or Iron Maiden or something in the early 80s, and we were like, oh, you know, I got the blood pumping and started, you know, and so that's, radio still is a place where people need to find new music, and so I've done this internet thing, and here we are. And once I started doing this, we became popular around the world more than the United States.
Mm.
And so now that's how I'm finding out about guys like you know, because I want to bring more of that to the States, you know, and I want to support my U.S. bands, but bands all over the world, I think rock needs to continue to be
Yeah.
pushed and part of the mix. I just think with all of the different formats and all the different kinds of music, I like it all, but you know, rock for a while was underserved, and now it's coming back. Although
Yeah,
in
definitely.
Europe and stuff, you guys still love rock and metal. Over here, it kind of took a dip, but over there, it's still strong.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think in the UK it's been funny because it was a kind of the indie period, and then it went out of bands completely, and it's starting to come back. And there's a really good under the ground, under the surface. And like you said, if you tap into the kind of the less commercial shows, there's a really good rock scene. What's going on? You got a dog going on
I
there.
got two.
Someone on the door.
Bye. And I don't edit these, so that was live. Good job,
That's
boys. All
good.
right.
Get my dog involved as well. Yeah. So,
Oh, what do you got?
I got a little spaniel. Just got him over lockdown, so it's like about 4 months ago. He's about 7 months old, so he's a tiny little thing.
Yeah, I've got a little 7-pound mix and a little 17-pound mix that are still barking. Hello, boys.
Throw him a bone.
Yeah, exactly. They love treats, but I give them plenty of walks every day. And here's one. Here's Mickey.
Cool. Oh, nice. He's cute.
Yeah, he's 7 pounds and was a both of them are rescues,
Cool.
and I like to take care of them and all that kind of. And I walk them
Nice.
4 times a day, that kind of stuff. But
Fantastic.
it's
Well
good.
looked after dogs.
Yeah, it's good to have that in your life, you know.
Definitely. Most definitely.
So this has got, you know, a new band, a year together, and then the COVID thing happened. What are you guys doing for plans? I mean, you're writing more songs. You're making plans for when things get a little more normal.
Yeah, well, we're really lucky actually, because we finished recording. So we literally wrote the songs between sort of September and November time. We recorded 8 tracks, literally just banged out 8 songs, got them finished and enough to put out obviously one song in as the first single, and then we obviously went off and we did a remix for the second single, and then more songs. And we've been writing over this period, so we thought we're not going to be able to play, we're not going to do anything. So we've been bouncing ideas over to each other, you know, left, right, center, and it's been great because we just sort of write between us as a band. So I've been sort of either coming up with song ideas and bouncing them over to the guys, and they bounce them back, and it's been great. And we managed to get together for the first time probably about 2 months ago after lockdown was lifted, and we've been sort of jamming through all those songs. So we've got probably another 10, 11 songs in the mix, and we're booked in to do another record our album in November, lockdown permitting, so which has been good. But we say about COVID, I've just had COVID as well, so I'm on the kind of recovery from that, so I'm kind of I'm still isolating from that, so but I've got another week left of isolation, so I can then go and start hopefully finishing off these songs. But
Right.
that's the plan basically. We've got another single coming out in November, and then we're going to obviously go into the studio, start record 10, 11 songs for an album, and then start again the cycle next year to putting singles out, and then the album probably mid next year. So it's all been positive for us, to be honest with you, apart from catching the coronavirus.
Right. Well, glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'm getting there, thanks. Yeah.
So things are a lot different these days, with bands, doing singles instead of albums. I'm glad to hear you guys are doing an album. What's your opinion on the current status of singles getting out there and things like that?
I think singles. Our plan at the start was always to do singles, because there's with an album you just get a saturation of songs that you might have a brilliant album, but people only really will listen to one or two singles off the album and might not necessarily delve into the rest of the album. So that was our plan, to actually sort of start this year, release 4 singles and get that going and see what traction we built. And I think to get the major press these days, you need to have an album, which is why we kind of decided we want to do it, because we built up this sort of following and the press following. We've got good radio support, and I think it's the next step would be an album, so it kind of legitimizes us, if you see what I mean. But we're very much singles focused. But I mean, obviously that's off the album. We'll probably release 3 singles and then the album, but we'll make sure obviously it's as good an album we can possibly get, so we can get as much sort of traction with all the songs. But I suppose because, like I said, people listen on Spotify, they flick through, they might listen to the one single they like, or another single they like, and then they'll skip the rest because the attention span is not there, because they've got tens of thousands of other artists to listen to. So it's quite, it's a difficult medium to get people hooked into you as a band, which is why we try to sort of be a bit different with our artwork and with our videos and stuff, to sort of make it a bit more interesting and have a kind of tie-in with everything we're doing. And then when an album comes, hopefully we can create that kind of art as well as the music, to sort of link it in as a whole product, really.
And that's refreshing to hear, because a lot of rock bands that are trying to make a name for themselves would just use pretty girls, or the usual tropes of rock and roll. So I'm glad to hear that, and it does work. But I'm glad to hear that you're thinking about an album thing, because it is, people these days we're kind of going back to what it was in the 50s and 60s, where people are more single oriented. I really like this song. I'm still an album guy. I mean, whether it be Pink Floyd or AC/DC or whoever, or Opeth, I like an album experience. That gets me into the band, the mindset, what they're thinking, all that. But I program radio stations, and in my car I've got this flash drive with about 3,000 songs on it that I put on shuffle. So I'm just as bad as anybody else. I listen to songs, and if I don't like this one, I go to the next one, and it's kind of like my own shuffling radio station.
Exactly.
But that's something, I've talked to a lot of bands recently on Zoom that are all thinking, that we got to kind of play to that. And I know Spotify doesn't play well, but I like the fact that you're linking it all together to bring people back to the bigger picture thing, where most people are just, I want to get my single on Spotify. Yeah, but Spotify's only going to do so much for you. You need to get on the radio, you need to get a video, you can't just be there, because we all know they don't pay. So and you have to make money to keep doing this.
Just a bit,
And that's, a lot of bands are talking about having to come up with now these new ideas to make some money for the band, whether it be merchandise or masks, because you can't tour and you can't do the usual stuff. So is that playing into what you guys have planned? Because I know really you're trying to make the music, but you've got to have some of those other things too. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the thing is, we did a few online festivals, and again, they don't necessarily pay, but we did a sort of, we recorded some performances for that, and we put that into a bootleg CD, and then we played this festival, we advertised that bootleg CD, and it sold out, which was amazing. So we were just literally, that made some money to then put back into the recording, and that's what we'll probably do. We kind of record the process. If we're doing online stuff, then you can build into merch. We hadn't got around to doing merch yet, because we had a tour lined up in sort of June, July, August past, and we were going to get merch sorted for that. And then obviously when the lockdown hit, you can't really afford to spend on getting merch made up when you don't know if anybody's going to sell anything. So we've had to be quite reactive to things. We've even had fans go out and actually make their own merch for us. It's crazy, because it's like people saying, when are you going to get a t-shirt come out? And it's like, well, we don't know yet. So they said, give us your logo. So we fired the logo over, and there's a couple of people have made their own Amongst Liars t-shirts and face masks, which is insane. So
how awesome is that?
Which is great. Yeah. I mean, it's just, you think, great, people are doing that off their, off their own backs, which is, it's amazing. can ask for more than that. But obviously we've got to obviously think about next year. We'll get some more merch in line, and if we do any more festivals, we'll do another limited edition run of CDs with the singles and live performances and stuff on, so we can then put that back in, and hopefully it will sort of serve itself. But obviously, it costs a lot of money to do anything these days with recording, with touring, with merch. That you've got, obviously you need to be playing live and getting out there to actually sell. So it's
The bootleg CD idea is a great idea. A lot of bands that I'm familiar with are doing either the stay home thing or from the studio thing or in my house thing or on the front porch thing, but I don't think any of them are selling the audio from it, which is a great idea,
Yeah, we were tapped into it by this radio guy that we did this festival for, and it was a huge thing about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we recorded a sort of live performance. It was one of the first time we played together live since the lockdown, which was back in so we did it in late July, I think, and then the festival went out in early August, and he was just saying, you guys should sell the performance. It's good. So we put that together as a package with the 3 singles that we've put out, and a couple of acoustic tracks as well that we did for another one, and they flew off the shelves. It's amazing. So we had to burn them up all ourselves. That's the only thing, and then sign about 100 CDs. But it was great. It was just a real buzz to connect with people, and everyone's, I think, kind of missing music as well. And if you tap into people that want to go to gigs and they've got online festivals, they've got this kind of fresh thing coming at them. It's been really good.
Well, that's it for us online guys. My stations are online. The stuff you're doing is online. The COVID has not been a bad thing for some of that, because people are looking for things to do, things to listen to, things to watch. So creating that kind of content for people who are kind of have no choice but to, if this is what they're looking for, here we are.
Yeah, precisely, which has been amazing. So it's good, yeah.
Yeah, I used to do a few Skype interviews, but didn't do many of these. But Zoom makes it so easy, and it's professionally cuts back and forth, makes us both look good,
Exactly. Yeah.
So I know when you've started a band, you've been in some bands, you've toured, you've done the thing, but now you've got this band, you're very excited about it. You have to be thinking about some long-term plans. Is there like a big artist you'd love to open for? Would you guys like to tour with like the Foo Fighters or something,
Oh yeah, who wouldn't? I mean, yeah. We're just kind of, I say at the moment, we're sort of building up, but the idea is to get on to tours and festivals for next year and really hit it up. I mean, the bands we love, and Foo Fighters would be immense. And other bands like Shinedown would be, it'd be great, because they're kind of the similar sound we're going for. Mm-hmm. There's so many great bands on. There's Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. Yeah. Obviously they're quite big. I mean, Queens of the Stone Age would be a dream come true. But that, Royal Blood, all of those that kind of vibe. Really. Anything kind of that kind of rock. I mean, there's Dinosaur Pile Up doing good stuff. I know of in the States as well. They're a British band, but it's that kind of that rock vibe, I suppose, and it's kind of growing quite a lot over here in the UK. There's some really good rock bands coming up and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and getting mainstream support, which is amazing. So hopefully we can kind of jump off the back of all of that kind of thing. We're kind of hooking with those bands and do some stuff, and even bands that are kind of started after us, we can do some stuff with them as well. And it's just creating that scene, I suppose, which is kind of has always been quite missing, I suppose, but now I think it's starting to come back again.
And with a band, it's you got to make that story, and so each one of those is a chapter in the story of Amongst Liars,
Exactly.
And so that's kind of why we're doing this interview, to build you another chapter and get it out there, and so people in this country are familiar with you, and maybe they'll buy the bootleg CDs and ready for that full album when it comes.
Definitely, yeah. Well, I think we've had two people from the States did actually buy the bootleg. I had to ship a couple across the States, so
and that was pricey.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was only a couple of pounds. So they're
because it was a CD, right?
It's a small CD, yes, and they give them a download as well. So for the price as well. So it's like so they get best of both worlds, really.
No, that's great. I got to get on board. That's
I'll send you one.
Please do.
Yeah, we'll do, of course.
Well, Ian, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today, considering that all I've heard is a few songs. We've never met. We've never talked before. You're an easy interview. We can talk anytime. You just
definitely.
You call back anytime. We'll talk about stuff. I like this.
Likewise.
Have you watched any movies you liked over this situation? I mean, anything that stood out to you?
Movies. Yeah, there's been quite a few. Watched a lot of series on Netflix.
Okay, yeah. What did you
things
like?
that. I can't remember. I've got a total blank at the moment. What we were watching? I just watched loads of stuff. I'm really into. I got into Narcos Mexico. That was amazing. I don't know if you've seen that one. I think that was
Yeah, it's a
last
pretty
year.
intense show.
It's a really intense show. And then I'm really into the Breaking Bad spin-off, Better Call Saul.
Hmm.
That's amazing. I love that. That's been so good. It was, and then we got into is it Succession, the latest one on that's a Sky Atlantic thing, I think, and that's was this year. That was really good as well. And then we just went to the cinema for the first time in ages and saw what's the film? Oh, it's the new Christopher Nolan one.
Oh, Tenet.
Tenet. Yeah,
Yeah. How was that?
That was mind blowing. I still don't. You still got to think about it. I mean, the way it was done was amazing. You got kind of totally lost by it. I think you need to see it a few times. But that was really insane to see.
We actually have a theater nearby open, and it's showing it. So I'm going to go by in a matinee with my mask because I need to see it in a theater.
Yeah, go do it, because it really kind of drags you in, but you don't know what the hell's going on. But it's really well done. But it's weird. I don't know if you got the same in the States, but hardly anyone's going to the cinemas at the moment. So whereas you'd be sat in it, it's a real shame, obviously, for the arts. But when you sit in a cinema with maybe 10 other people when there's a 500 capacity cinema,
Right.
and so you've got the whole place to yourself in a sense. You're not cramped up with anyone like that, and it's kind of, it's nice to watch, but it's not obviously for cinemas because they're losing so much money in business. But
Hollywood's having a hard year this year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I read an article this morning that Sony, they've got these $200 million movies, like a new Ghostbusters movie, and they have to sit on them. They can't release them on streaming because they can't make the money back, not quickly enough.
Yeah.
And there's certain movies he wanted Tenet to be in theaters. They want Dune to be in theaters. They want Ghostbusters to be in theaters. It's a tough time, but
I mean, you can't not have films like that in theaters, can you? I mean, it's like obviously there's the Batman's been suspended, hasn't there? The filming of that and anything because of COVID. So it's like, and all these things being produced. So there's going to be a massive things coming out in 2022, 23 that have to compete with each other as well. So it's going to be like pick. It's going to be a great sort of choice of all these.
We're going to be inundated. We're just going to be flooded with stuff.
Information overload.
Which to some people, the internet is, but those of us that have lived with it for a while, like I said, businesses that are based on the internet, bands that are working on the internet, that's been, that's some of the few things that have been positive during the COVID thing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just been, you just embrace what you've got, I suppose. It's been lots of bad things happening, but you've got to. There's no point otherwise.
And look, I had a killer conversation with Ian across the pond. How cool is that?
It's amazing.
Well, what's your latest single?
So the latest single is called Burn the Vision.
That's what I have. I just wanted to make sure because,
Amazing.
When they send stuff overseas, well, we've got this one in Italy, but this one, So,
no, we're straightforward, very simple.
Worldwide, amongst flyers, everything. Well, Ian, thanks for taking the time out of your Friday. I'm going to get this edited up. I'll send you links. We'll get it posted. And I hope that people enjoy this interview and find your band and listen to you. We're going to be playing you on Rockfile Radio Fires. So I'm doing all I can, man.
That's amazing. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
No, I really enjoyed it. And let's do it again real soon.
Likewise, definitely.
All right. Thank you, Ian. Have a great day.
Pleasure. No, and you. Take care. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.